Well, hello everyone and welcome to another special edition of Video Game Hunting here on Player One Start. Today I'm actually attending Peoria QuadCon 2021. And although this convention contains things like comic book collecting, toy collecting, as well as cosplay, there are also video game events related here as well, and a couple of video game vendors. So today, in addition to doing some video game hunting at this convention, I'm going to be competing in my first Mario Kart tournament. After I got registered for that, I had some time to kill, so I decided to go ahead and start touring some of the convention. And the first booth I found here, I actually found this kind of interesting. All I Need to Know, I Learned from Watching Star Trek. I actually heard about this book before, but not quite sure what it is. This guy has all of his stuff organized by genre, it looks like. We have Star Trek next to Metal Gear, though, and then I guess Superman and superhero stuff after that. Again, a lot of toys and collectibles at this convention. I don't usually find myself collecting, but this I thought was kind of interesting. See these Final Fantasy VIII action figures? I actually had never seen these before, but it's kind of neat that they actually made these. And that this person appears to have at least a mostly complete set. I actually don't know how many they made of these, but man, it was very tempting to get this Squall here, but $35, I decided to go ahead and pass on it. I really don't have the space for this kind of stuff, along with the video game collection. I've seen this game Mall Madness before at various collectible stores, as well as this convention, and I'm not quite sure what the appeal is. Is this something people actually played back in the day, or is the game concept simply enough for people to actually collect? Ah yes, a bunch of toy cars, tanks, and other toys that I would have played with as a kid. It actually got me thinking it'd be kind of neat to actually try to create a video with my modern editing skills and tools, just to see what it would look like. I'm sure it would look bad, though. I said, hey! What's going on? After the Masters of the Universe, I was very intrigued by these old Star Wars lunchboxes. I'm not quite sure what the actual age on these are, but they did look kind of beat up and rusty. So, as a collectible, I would want something that looked more pristine, and sadly I did have to pass on these. They also had a whole bunch of loose figurines that were in their own little display cases. I thought was kind of neat. And the original Star Wars soundtrack on LP. I might have to grab one of these someday. I actually was just talking to someone about Star Wars Episode 1 merchandise and if it was actually shooting up in collector's value. I assume everything pre-Disney will, but I'm not quite sure what the collector's market is for Episode 1 merchandise. It's getting to the point where I actually like seeing all this old merchandise more than I like seeing the movie, because even though this movie let down many fans, the hype surrounding it was enormous. I mean, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing Star Wars branded merchandise for Episode 1. Well, hello there. But anyway, getting to the video game selection of this vendor, the first thing I saw here was the Star Fox Zero, looks like action figure, and then he had a whole bunch of these games and loose boxes, which I'm never a fan of collecting these things outside of getting the game, and I'm not quite sure who is going to go around buying these for, looks like $25 to however many dollars a piece. I know there's a market for this kind of stuff, but it just perplexes me why when you have the game you would go back and get this stuff separate. Because in my experience, it's often more expensive to collect these things separately than getting the thing complete in box. I know that's the opposite of what you would expect, but that is what the market seems to be in my experience. And the pricing from this vendor is further evidence of that. Here we have some complete in box, more modern games, some of these still sealed. Again, nothing special from this vendor. I think the sports titles at $5 a piece were a bit much. This Final Fantasy X and X-2 thing looked a little interesting because I used to have that game and I used to have this exact edition. But I think I already have this for at least the PlayStation 4, the Vita, and the Switch at this point, so I'm not quite sure if I want to go back and get the PS3 edition again. I mean, I also own Final Fantasy X for the PS2, if that counts. Now this is a bit more my style. Here are some NES games that include also the manual with them. It's nice that the vendor has these set up like this because then you can see everything that comes with it. And the controllers in the back were also nice to see as well. I actually didn't know what these cables are. Is this an extension cable or does this split it off into two separate ports? Not sure how that works if that's the case. Alright, well before I can go on to other vendors, it is now time for the Mario Kart tournament. Well, the fact that I see death must mean it's a good sign. Anyway, it was a 16-person bracket, and in round 1, we were actually seeded as the last two people. My friend Ryan and I were very close to being seeded to play against each other at round 1, but they split us up because we knew each other. So he ended up going first, and I'll go ahead and let his performance speak for itself. Well, that is if we ever end up finding who he's supposed to be racing.
I'm like positive it's Jake versus Ryan next.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Ryan! Oh, okay. Jake! Jake. I might not be able to read mom. That definitely looks like Jake. It's definitely Jake. Is that a Ruby cosplay? She got the scythe. Did you make that scythe yourself? I don't think she cares about what I'm saying. She doesn't care at all. I'm losing my voice. Just a little louder. Just a little louder. I think this is the highest it can go.
Yes, you better win the whole dang tournament now. I'm not playing with you. You better pick up that controller and you better race like your life depended on it. Let's go, Jake! Let's go, Jake!
There you go. Jake, for every cow you hit, you have to do a push-up, okay? All right, Jake?
I'll do them with you, alright?
I'm just joking, bro. Unless you really want to do push-ups.
I can't even do it.
We'll cheer for push-ups!
Yo, he's got Shy Guy. That's my guy, too.
Shy Guy is his guy. Okay, that's a push-up. That's one. Now, you just ran straight into it. You didn't even try to dodge the cow. You ran straight into it. You chose to hit the cow. That's cow violence. I know you eat hamburgers.
That's cow violence.
He's trying to tender up that cow for his hamburger tonight. He ain't playing around. He got 3 of those shells. I mean, not shells, mushrooms.
You got this, Shy Guy.
You got this. Going.
Nice.
Oh, we got a red mushroom. A red shell on the way. Oh, yeah, no, that ain't helping you guys. You gotta eat that L. Oh, they tried to be toxic. They threw a red at you too. Alrighty, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Farewell, Jakey Poo. We'll see you back at 1:30. GG's.
No, it's okay, man.
Yeah. Y'all can have something to study when y'all go against each other. That's right. Y'all think y'all slick. Because you recorded your homie gameplay and he recording yours. Y'all not slick. Alright. Huh? You don't know what he ate. Oh, I thought you meant like somebody was gonna snatch him up like a Twinkie at a stop.
It could be for fun. He could have had 6 chili cheese burritos and Taco Bell.
You know what? That would put him down. He ain't using the bathroom. He's going to go to the hospital. All right, let's see how well these players know this map. You can unlock a hidden booster if you hit all 3 of the spinny spins, but they hit none of them. Oh, look, somebody did it. Let's go. It would happen to be Link, wouldn't it? Oh, damn.
I guess he got the link there.
He picked Link and got the Link hidden stage. Oh, wow. Oh, that's what you get. Is that what we finna do? We finna let a computer wash us? That's what we doing today? We getting washed by the computer? Toadette is that. She ain't even got her own game. 2 main characters getting washed by a side character. You hate to see it. Oh, and Link finna get whooped. Spam them, boy! Spam them! Spam! Yeah! Let's go! I mean, Smash Brothers. You can ask the Cloud Man to play Cloud. You know what I'm saying? He's dressed up. And that would be a hell of a thing. He doesn't even play Smash Brothers, bro. He's just a Final Fantasy man. He makes Final Fantasy. Wait a minute, I forgot you said that. I got a commentate for that. Y'all can't even, you know what I'm saying? Y'all gonna have to get rid of me. I'm gonna be all over there, all types of hype. Okay, we got you. What'd you say? Alrighty. Oh. Look, this one, he just got
robbed! 2 red shells, a green shell, and a couple of bad decisions later, I ended up blowing my lead of being in 1st and him in 7th. But if you think that was just luck on his part, now my friend has to face off against him as well. And he did not fare well either.
Okay, GG's everybody, GG's. You think you're finna win, don't you? You finna win? You finna win? Hey, it's okay to say you're gonna
Ryan, what happened?
I hate that track.
What happened, huh?
Is it? I hate that
What do you think happened to Ryan? Not
well,
so easy.
well, he beat us both. You were supposed to avenge me. I know.
So Ryan, how does it feel to get beat by a possibly 10-year-old?
It was so sad.
Is it? Yeah. Welcome to the club. Do you feel bad about giving me crap about it? That's alright though, I don't feel too bad because it took the guy who won the tournament to finally knock the kid that knocked both of us out. And in the end, he was awarded with his $50, so although that was a fun distraction, I guess it's back to the video game hunt. Maybe I'll be more successful there. So I remember the last time they put this convention on, it was about half collectibles, toys, and comic books, and the other half was like video game and video game related merchandise. However, this time around there was only one other vendor other than the one I showed you a little bit ago that was actually selling a whole bunch of retro games. And they had quite the selection. They had a whole bunch of complete in-box titles, along with some of their more rare and more valuable loose titles in behind the glass case. Behind the counter, they had some even more rare titles, or at least more valuable titles, along with some consoles on here. And actually, I don't know if I have this in frame, but they also had a Panasonic 3DO original model. And that is when I realized that this vendor was also at the BN Video Game Con, and I wasn't able to show a lot of what they had other than that original 3DO. They had a few GameCube titles that were complete in box, next to a whole bunch of Pokemon cards. I actually just heard about how valuable these things have become in recent times. I heard that a lot of stores actually stopped selling these in store because of the, I guess, violence that was erupting from people trying to get these things. Over here, they have a bunch of complete in-box PSP titles. I was collecting these prior to the pandemic and actually during the first part of it, but I seem to have gotten most of the games, at least in this pile, so I decided to move on from that. Underneath a bunch of unremarkable N64 titles, I found a bunch of either Super Nintendo titles that I already had, or Super Nintendo titles that I didn't really want. Here was something interesting. I found Jumanji the movie for PSP. I guess it was kind of strange they didn't have a game for this system. I also found this movie of Year One. I'm not quite sure who collects movies for the PSP. I have a few, but I didn't pay this much for them. Back on this table, they have a GameCube as well as a Super Nintendo. They have Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back complete in box for the Atari 2600, as well as a Monopoly Gamer Edition, which is kind of hidden back there. The name's Bond Jr., James Bond Jr. Now here they have a fine selection of Atari 2600 games, and there was a couple I was going to look at. Oh, by the way, my friend decided I should see Paperboy for $70 for the Game Boy. No thank you. But anyway, I saw a couple titles here that I might get. Porky's was kind of interesting. I was kind of curious as to what this game actually looked like. Sadly, I was not able to bundle up for a deal, so I didn't end up getting any of these. I also had a bunch of loose NES titles, as well as a bunch of DS and 3DS games, and I'm just going to show you the pictures of everything else on here. Now, here's a game I was not expecting to see here. This is actually, I don't know how to pronounce this, is this Lucian's Quest for the 3DO? And at first I thought that was a mismark, that it was $550, but nope, that's what they were actually asking for this. They did have the disc and the manual, but don't be fooled, this is not complete. Without the long box, I would say this is maybe worth $200, at least at current market prices. And I was not even willing to spend that on this game. Have any of you played this game? Is it any good? I mean, because I don't think anything would ever be worth $500 for one game, but man. Here is Hero and Tapper for the Atari 2600. I do have both these games already, and they are very fun. I was definitely happy to see these out in the wild. Hopefully somebody found these and was able to take them home. Here are a bunch more NES games I had in this lot, and sadly, I mean, I've just gotten to the point where I actually have all of these titles already. I guess that's the collector's curse, that I'm not always able to find games that I'm looking for. The Sega Genesis offerings were kinda neat. Altered Beast, Afterburner 2, and Castle of Illusion, along with a few decent Sega Master System titles. They had even more Atari 2600 games mixed in with some Atari 800 games. And towards the end they went with more modern titles, from the PS3 and PS4 to the Xbox One. They did have some Wii games, Wii U, Xbox, GameCube, and other games here, which I'm not showing all of them, but lately I've been prioritizing collecting for cartridge-based systems and leaving the disc-based media, as it's starting to go up in price to the point where I'm only going to start collecting the games that I actually want for the system, not just lots of games that are cheap. But although I didn't find anything here at this convention, later on in the day I went to the retro game store I usually go to, and I found a lot of games on there, first being Jade Cocoon, Resident Evil 2, then Phantasy Star Online, Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes, Eternal Darkness, and Resident Evil 4. After that, we tried our luck at the arcade, where looks like Ryan struck out yet again. However, I ended up hitting the jackpot on Wheel of Fortune and winning a ton of tickets. I won! That really takes the sting out of the loss from earlier that morning. But anyway, that about wraps up this trip to QuadCon. Unfortunately, I didn't find too much at this event, but I would find myself going again. I would definitely like to sign up for the Super Smash Bros. Tournament they had going on there, although I would have to get some practice in on that game, and hopefully next time I'll be able to find more retro games. That said, that is going to wrap things up for this video. Remember, if you like what you see, please click on that like button, leave a comment down below, let me know what you liked about today's video. As always, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. If you like this video and you'd like to help out with future projects on this channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Also, if you enjoy the content of this channel, please remember to click on this subscribe button. Again, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.